Our opening event here, our opening speaker doing the workshop, Mosha Daniel. I'm very impressed by this man. He's a doctor of naturopathy, and I find many, many naturopaths by experience have been just absolutely amazing people and have been very good at what they do. He graduated in 2000 from the Canadian College of Natural Medicine. He specializes in homeopathy, which gave him some of the insights needed to help develop this technology that you're about to see. He also, as an author, he's written a book on Kabbalah, which is called The Last Four Books of Moses, and a book on natural medicine. He's very interested in the chemical and healing aspects of this technology, particularly because this is the sort of technology, if we really can reduce our fuel usage, we can heal on a very broad level throughout the world. And this is much more far-reaching than it might at first appear. So as soon as he heard of the Joel cell tech, Moshe went to the spherical design intuitively, which, when you think about it, is a very logical extension of the original concept. So here is Mosha Daniel.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Can everybody hear me all right? Yes, I can hear me all right. Thanks a lot, Mike. And thanks for the prayer. That was a beautiful flute playing that really touched me. And it's a nice way to start off this conference. Thank you so much. And thank you all so much for your patience. I know some of you had expected this to begin at 1, but the AV men and women have been working incredibly fast to set up a lot of advanced equipment, and it's amazing that they got it done at this time. So thanks for your patience. You know, everyone here, I'm standing up here presenting this technology that I've been developing for the last 3 years, but each one of us has a crucial role in the years to come in helping this technology go from a hope, a wish, to an actuality, where we, the people, the little people, through our grassroots movements, will help to bring this technology into a reality, which is what's happening. A lot of us don't have huge funding from government or from organizations with billions of dollars. That is coming, and it will come more and more. But myself and my friend, and who's helping me a lot, Christopher Gardner, we've been working with minus budget. You know, tinkering in our garages, getting results with as little funding as possible to make solutions possible for each of us that don't cost an arm and a leg, which is what the current fuel situation is costing us. So we want to have viable solutions for fuel mileage improvement, helping the environment, helping us generate electricity, which is what this conference is all about. A lot of good-hearted, intelligent people coming together to find solutions. So I really salute all of you also for being here, because you're as important as each of us that's developing the technology to use it, to improve it. Each of you will have little ideas with the Mojo cell technology, which I will begin presenting soon. Already I have a few suggestions of people that I never thought about, and I thought, that's a good idea. I say, well, why don't you try that? You try that. You take the Mojo home and you try that. You see how that works. So as a team, we are going to overcome the obstacles of obscurity of these technologies, of suppression of these technologies, and other things that are associated with the free energy world. Thank you. So the Mojo cell is very dear to our hearts. It is an incredible technology which is taking the technology of Joe from Australia to the next level in improvement. It's smaller, so we can fit it into tighter spaces in our engine compartments. It costs less materials, which are skyrocketing in price. The geometry of it is close to perfection. The Joe cell is built of cylinders, pipes, tubes, which Joe Booker from Australia used to run his car on water. That's the legend, that's the fable, that's the history. In around 1992, a man named Joe, I'll be getting into this a lot more on Saturday, the whole overview, the philosophy, how it works. What is the Mojo cell producing? How is it running a car? How is it causing healing and expansion and evolution of consciousness? This I'll go into a lot more. Now I'm going to be doing literally the nuts and bolts of the Mojo, but I want to give you a little bit of background if you've never heard anything about this technology. This man named Joe had an idea to run his car on steam, and he used very, very high voltage to produce the steam to run his car on that technology. He discovered that after he removed the leads of the electricity, that there was something being emitted from the water that was still running the engine, that was still adding energy to the engine, even though he had the fuel cut off. This is how I heard the story. Is it entirely true? I don't know. However, I do know that this technology works. I've experienced it firsthand, and we've seen results, and I'll be discussing those more on Saturday, but perhaps some as well today. So, my name is Moshe, sometimes known as Mo. So in honor of Joe, I didn't want to, because this technology that I've developed and created, the spherical form, the Mojo cell, is a Joe cell in spherical form. So in honor of Joe, the inventor of this technology, I just added my name in the front, Mo. And it sounds cool, Mojo. We like to say we got our Mojo working, and it's caught on. And now if you do a search for the Mojo cell on Google, you'll see tons and tons of pages of people having videos of the Mojo cell that I've developed and been working on. So it's very exciting that this name caught on, and I hope that the technology, the spherical form, will become the foundation of the Joe cell technology, because it creates a more balanced field. It creates a more balanced field with more efficient results. So I encourage questions if you have questions. I may not be able to answer them all in depth right now. Perhaps it will be for Saturday. I hope you will all come Saturday when we'll go into more detail about the technology. Right now what I want to do is to show you how easy it is to assemble a Mojo cell. How easy it is, how simple it is, how fun it is. I have a great time doing it. You, Topher? Yes. It's a blast. And then we're going to we'll take a break after a little while. We're going to go outside and take a peek at an actual engine compartment installation of the Mojo cell. Okay? So any questions right now? All right. So the Mojo cell is made up of 4 different sized spheres. We have a 2-inch sphere, we got a 3-inch sphere, we have a 4-inch, and a 5. By placing the 2-inch inside of the 3-inch, inside of the 4-inch, inside of the 5-inch, we have a series of concentric spheres, one inside of the other. One will be acting as the female negative electricity, holding the negative electricity, and the other one will be acting as the positive or male, to use the alchemical terms. What I would like to show you today is how to assemble. See, one of the things that will be helpful about this is I'm going to show you exactly how the most advanced way that we're doing it, the most efficient way. So if you get a cell or you want to get a cell, you can watch the DVD and know exactly how to assemble. So I'm going to start with a water charging kit. Now, the water charging kit, the purpose of it is to charge water. This is one of the reasons for the water charging kit, is to prepare the water so it's highly, highly potent with orgone energy, life energy. We can call it radiant energy, to use the Tesla term. Orgone is Wilhelm Reich's term. And when it's supercharged with water, then we put it inside of our car kit to go into the car. And one of the things that enables us to do is sometimes when we charge the water, there's garbage in the water, or there's scum in the water. And by filtering it a few times, it becomes cleaner and more charge, and then that goes into your car kit. And that will empower your car cell. Now, one thing that I'd like to point out to you, there were a few people that came to the table and were able to feel the energy field. Can you put your hand up if you felt that? Just a few people, great. I'm feeling it now. I'm amazed by this because we haven't applied any electricity to this. We haven't even put water inside of it, and it's producing a field of energy because of its configuration, which resembles somewhat like an orgone accumulator, having alternating layers of metallic and then what is known as the organic layer, which we don't really have here. All we have is air, and it's pretty dry here, so it's impressive to have this energy, to feel this energy. I would even, actually, I could pass this around that you can feel it. So just hold in your hands and put one hand like this, and if you want to just bring your hand in slowly, you'll feel the charge. And I'm wondering if it's going to discharge if everybody touches it. We'll find out. So I'll start with you over here, and then just pass it around, okay? And I want that to circulate so you can get a feeling for the cell when it hasn't even been charged. There's no water in it. Now, as you charge the cell, as the cell starts to acclimatize to its purpose, it gets more and more charged so that you can feel it. When it's not being charged, it has been charged, but it's not presently being charged, you can really feel that energy field. We could call them scalar waves, we can call it an orgone field. But then when you actually are charging it, during the charging process, it's a very powerful feeling. And I know Topher and I have done charges where we are blown away by the energy. You want to just describe a little bit some of, you want to grab that mic?
Yes.
Your alarm's going off. It's time for you to talk. Is it on, John?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of different circuits for actually trying to charge the cell, or charging, not trying to charge. And a couple of the different transformers that we've used have been pretty high voltage. And as soon as you turn it on, it's, I've done a lot of energy work. Basically I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, so I'm pretty sensitive to energies, and feeling that like jolt of the warm energy, the male energy, and then other charging systems we use, you could actually feel the cooler, softer energy hit you. But it's really remarkable of how far and how long it will actually stay without actually using a new charge. Just after it basically holds its residual voltage, you'll feel it instantly once you come into the room.
All right, thanks, Topher. Great. My experience has been, I've been able to feel the cell, the energy field of the cell. Some of you will have more sensitivity. Some of you will develop more sensitivity. If you have never worked with orgone technology, you've never assembled an orgone accumulator, you've never vortex water, you may not have that sensitivity. You may have it inherently and you never knew it. Mine has developed through the years so that I can feel the cell instantly. And my experience is that the cell, like let's say I look at the first row, I can feel the cell about this far when it's charging, depending on the kind of charge. So it is emitting a very strong field. I don't know how to describe it exactly. It's radiant energy, it's orgone, we could call it scalar waves. I'm wondering if we should tell them about the experience of being visited. Yeah, sure, okay. When I was in Florida, we had 2 cells that were charging, and they were really powerful. They were connected via their negatives, so it was like 2 cells that had become one via their negatives. And we were charging the water. The water was very, very strong, and we were visited by a chopper at night. It was probably a military chopper. It was unmarked. And basically, they had picked up on their radar the scalar waves that this technology is emitting. And it's a false positive for them on their scalar radar, because they don't want to see somebody developing scalar weapons, which this has nothing to do with. This is peaceful. This is to generate peace. But it does put a beep on their radar, so they checked us out. And they probably said, sir, it's just a bunch of dorks in their garage developing water technology. And then once they find that out, then that's okay, but they will check this technology out. And we're totally safe with this. It's absolutely fine. The question, like, what our goal is to run fuelless operation, which we have not achieved yet. There is rumors, there is the story that the Joe cell has run cars fuelless, and I believe that's true. I believe that is true. Although we haven't exactly had the ability to do that yet, we've gotten fuel mileage improvement, we've gotten performance improvement and enhancement, better handling, the car is lighter on its feet, and yet we haven't gotten to that stage fuelless. Once you go fuelless, you are dabbling in the realm of danger for your own personal life to announce that and to make it known to everybody. But as more and more people do this, then it's going to tip the tide into the place where it can't be controlled anymore. You know, the analogy that comes to my mind is that you're standing on a paved road and you see a water, like a sprig of water comes shooting through the road, and so in order to suppress that, you stick your foot on it, and then another thing sticks up, and then you put another foot, and then another one, and then you stick your finger, and then eventually you just can't stop the water, and us, as a collective movement of people working towards the release of this technology, will triumph and bring the energy back to the people. Yes, I believe that 100%. That's what we're here for. Thank you, thank you. That's really what we're here for. And you know, it's not just about saving a few bucks at the fuel pump. Yeah, that's great. I believe in that too. It's about healing our world from the tyranny of those who would try to control free energy technologies that have been available for a long, long time. So this is part of the technology that I'm glad to share with you. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to assemble a cell, a water charging kit. I'm not going to use a Bismuth Core, which is right here, which we will use to assemble. A gentleman purchased a cell and Topher worked to polish it. So we're going to assemble that to show you how we assemble it from the start. Are you guys feeling that? Are you still feeling that? Did you? Okay, so you felt that? Okay, I got a couple of nods. If you don't feel it, don't feel bad. We'll bring you over at the table and we'll do a little tweak on your brain stem and then you'll get it. So here's a Bismuth Core. This is also my design to put the core of bismuth right in the center. Bismuth has a very special property. It's diamagnetic, and this enhances the performance of the cell. And I won't get into that too much, otherwise I'll be repeating myself on Saturday, but it's very special. So, I'm going to take my 2-inch cell. I'm going to start with the female, which has the lip. You see the little lip? This is the male that has no lip. They actually slot together to make a sphere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my threaded stainless steel bolt, 3-inch. I'm going to put a stainless nut. Everything is stainless steel and non-magnetic. That's what you want. You want non-magnetic. If you have magnetism in the steel, it distorts the electromagnetic field and you don't get a balancing of energies. So I'm just going to put it about that far down. You see that? It's not too far at all. And I'm going to stick the 2-inch. I'll start with the female. I'm going to take another nut, stainless nut, put it on. And this I'm going to tighten up. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to tighten this up as much as I can. By just taking pliers here, and tightening. Ja, das ist gut. Das ist very good. Okay, boom. Now, next step, I take my little nylon spacers that go over the nut, like so. See that? I'm going to take the other one, and the flatter one, which goes here, and then I'm going to take the 1-inch long nylon spacer that goes over the bolt. That's phase 1. Phase 2 comes, I'm going to take the 3-inch sphere and I'm going to put it over here. I need to put a little pressure, so I don't want to break the face of this thing. I'll just put it there, down. Okay, so now I have my 2-inch inside the 3-inch. Real simple. Now I'm going to take the big, what I call the big fat spacer. I have very technical terms for these things. Mojo technology is very advanced, very scientific. I'm going to take my 4-inch, stick it over, pluck it down, bingo. Now this is, right now what I'm forming is a half cell. And then when I have one half cell and I have another half cell, I make a whole cell. Now I'm going to take this little 1/2-inch spacer, which is threaded on the inside. I'm going to thread it down over the top, which is basically, you see that like that? Man, my hands look good. Look at that. A little veiny though, I think.
Where did you buy the hemispheres?
The hemispheres I had manufactured. Yeah, these I'm supplying as part of, you know, it's funny, when I've been developing this technology for 4 years. As soon as I learned about the Joe cell, which is pipes within pipes, I went immediately to a sphere. And it took me a while to improve the design to get to where I am today. And I started to produce them, and people were calling me and writing me. It started to get really, really numerous people asking me, where can I get the Mojo? I want the Mojo steel. Where can I get the Mojo? So I went into manufacturing to supply people who are interested in the experimental purpose of this cell. And since then, we've even evolved to the point where I would say we're still experimental because we don't have always guaranteed results with every single car, but we have gotten results in some form with every car. If it's not fuel mileage improvement, it's performance improvement and also the healing aspect by driving in the car. So then it started to spread. That's why I went to production. So, okay, I'm just going to add another big fat spacer. And then I take my bottom of my water charging kit, and I'm going to put it down like this, snap it in place. Hi-ya! This one is a little tight. What's going on? Sometimes these little 1/2-inch guys are difficult. Just a little bit of a burr here. Okay, we'll just go like that. Hello? Hello? There we go. Now we're in. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, you see that? Look at that beauty. It's perfectly centered. I'm just going to put one more spacer on the outside, and I'm going to put a stainless steel washer over the top. I'm going to take a stainless steel nut. And now what I do is I tighten the outside with the inside. Basically, actually, Topher, you mind doing that? Good. Topher's going to do that. And then here you can grab, that's perfect. Just open that up. So that's going to make it super duper tight and solid and well spaced. I'm just going to go ahead and do the other side, which is exactly the same, except instead of using a stainless steel bolt, I'm going to use a nylon bolt, okay? And I'm going to do the exact same process. Exact same process. Right now I have a nylon nut on the outside of the 2-inch. I'm putting one on the inside right now. So you see that? Tightening that. That gets pretty tight because I can hold that in my fingers. And I'm just going to go and do the exact same thing. I'm going to put the wider spacer and then the thinner spacer, 1-inch nylon, down, boomba. And then I'm going to take the 3-inch male, put it over. I'm going to put the 4-inch male. First I need to put a fat spacer. So we have the fat spacer. Put the 4-inch, whoops, that's a female. Down, good. Now I take the 1/2-inch threaded. Ah, it looks good. Now what we're doing is creating a water charging kit. The water charging kit stays immobile. Basically, you put it on your counter or something in your garage, and it doesn't move around. So I'm not going to glue it. You see how solid it is? It's really solid. I'm not going to glue it or anything. I'll just show you how you use it to charge your water, to get your water prepped, and to use it for healing. This I'm just screwing down over the top. It acts as another spacer. It also keeps all the cells aligned, the spheres. So I'm going to take, again, the last fat spacer here. Boom. Get the 5-inch male. Here we go. There's no hole in that one. That's weird. Actually, one sec. Did I not make hole? Oh well. Okay. Taking the male. There's actually a hole missing in this one. My apologies. We should be able to fix that up. And then I'm just going to put that over the top. Boom, snaps into place. I'm going to take my spacer. At the top, again, I'm going to repeat the stainless steel washer, put it over the top, take a nylon nut, and we're going to tighten up the second half. So this water charging kit is basically assembled. If you have any questions while this is happening, please feel free to shoot them out. Yes, sir?
What do you think about using brass?
Brass would be a nightmare. Brass would corrode in about 10 seconds as soon as you applied current to it. I've tried brass in different parts of the application, and it corrodes really fast. Copper corrodes, and it's no good. Aluminum doesn't corrode, but it blocks orgone, so it's not the right material. Really, one of the best materials would be gold, but that would be a little pricey, I think. So stainless steel, non-magnetic steel is your #1 choice. Yes, sir?
How about the ratio you chose? You chose 2, 3, 4,
And 5.
5?
Yes.
Instead of 2, 3, 5?
2, 3, 5. Are you thinking Fibonacci?
Yes.
What we've discovered in the Jocell technology is that even spacing is crucial. So if you have Fibonacci, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 5. It wouldn't make, there would be a gap of 2 inches, and it would throw off the field. We've thought about that. You can hear the harmonic resonance of the steel. It's nice. Okay, so are you done there?
Yep.
Okay, so now we have the second half assembled. This one is held with nylon. This one is held with steel. So basically, all I'm going to do is put them together now. Ooh. It's a beautiful sound. Just need to get that sucker in. There we go. Oh, that's not it. Can take a little patience sometimes. There we go. Topher, you want to help me with this?
Sure.
I just need to push that inside right there.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so once the cell is together like that, once we get it together, what we do is we get a glass jar and we drill a hole through the bottom of the glass jar. Now, there's amazing glass jars at your Targets. where you go to the, you can ask them, it's a cookie jar with lid. And if you get the, is it off somehow? It's just like we just need to push that sucker in there. If you go to Target, you get the cookie jars with lids, and it's the perfect water charging kit. You drill a hole in the bottom, tighten it up through the bottom, and you're good to go. You fill up the water so that it's, is there one of them that's off a bit?
Yeah, just adjust.
Okay. Sorry, we're hitting a bit of a snag here. You're going to take your water charging kit, fill it up so that it's about an inch over the top of your mojo. The mojo will be totally full. You take, we'll talk a little bit now about charging and about water selection, okay? Because when you charge the kit, there's different ways of charging it. And we've come a long way in our evolution from just your basic 12-volt battery to then, at one point, I've been charging with the mains. So I come straight from the mains. I think that's illegal in the US, so don't do that. It may even be illegal in Canada. But what I do now is go from the mains into a variac. Does everybody know what a variac is? Basically, it's just a device that takes your AC from your mains, and you have a dial that you can control the output voltage from basically 0 volts all the way up to about 130 volts. And then what we do also is we put the two outputs from the variac. You have your hot and your neutral AC through a bridge rectifier. That converts the AC into DC. And then in order to smooth out the ripple that is caused by that conversion, we use a capacitor. From the capacitor, we go from the negative of the capacitor to the inner sphere of the cell, and then the positive to the outer sphere.
It's right there.
It's so close, eh? It's just not. This method of assembly that I've shown you is called the half cell method. Another method is to, which is guaranteed to have it totally aligned perfectly at the beginning, is we have the, let's say we have this cell here. Let me get some more spacers. I can demonstrate. Any other questions? There was a question over there, right? Did you have a question? Titanium platinum plated?
Titanium and platinum plating on the metal.
I see. Okay. So this gentleman says titanium and platinum plated is good. You mean like plate steel with platinum?
Yes.
Okay. That gets also a bit pricey. And if you have any kind of current with any kind of plating, the plating comes off like in a second because it's very, very thin. Okay, so I'm just going to show an assembly with the Bismuth Core. And this is another way of doing it, which is guaranteed to be aligned. I honestly don't know why we're having a hard time there, because I've done that many times and it hasn't been a problem. But it's just, there may be one of the spheres. Did you get it close, or?
No, I don't understand.
Well, maybe we could take it apart and do it.
Yeah. I could start building that one. This method.
Well, hang on a sec. We'll go to the car kit in a sec. I'm just going to show you how to build the cell, like it could be the water charging kit or the car kit, by starting at the beginning. So we put the two spheres together. We want to make sure that the Bismuth core is in the center. Can you see that? See the Bismuth core in there? It's right in the center. We're going to close the cells together. Oops. That's there. Okay. Screw that down. So we're going to put the nylon nuts on either, the stainless nut on one side. I put the metal on the female side, the side that has the lip, and I put the nylon on the side that has no lip, just so that it rests a little better, and the metal side is a little firmer. Yeah.
Bismuth core again for?
The bismuth core is a material that's highly diamagnetic. It's the most diamagnetic substance. It's about 18 times more diamagnetic than water, which in the Joe cell is what is in the inside. The diamagnetism of the water is actually a secret to this whole technology, and it has to do with how can I describe it? Well, I was going to save this for Saturday, but it's a good topic for now. Here we have, imagine in here in the very center of this 2-inch sphere is bismuth, okay? When you apply the negative electricity on the outside, it brings the negative electricity to the inner sphere. The very center of the inner sphere is the exact same point of the very center of the outer sphere, okay? So the bismuth is surrounded by the electric field created by the electricity coming here, which when you have an electrical field on a metallic object, a magnetic field is created, right? When the magnetic field is created on a spherical form, it creates a spherical magnetic field, which surrounds the bismuth. The bismuth is surrounded in the center. Because bismuth is diamagnetic, what ends up happening is it creates a weak magnetic field in the opposite direction, a weak repulsion field. If you're familiar with diamagnetism, that's what it does. Like they've demonstrated how frogs can be levitated because they're light and they're filled with water, and over a very strong magnet, you can levitate a frog. If you had a strong enough magnet, you could levitate a human being because we're 70% water. So it creates a weak repulsional field against the magnetic field, but it's surrounded. So where does it create a weak repulsional field? It has to cause an implosional into its center and coming out on the other side of reality. So creating a negative magnetic field. And in that negative space is where you could say negative electricity is being created, or call it negative magnetism, cold electricity. And also what you may even describe it as is the space, the electromagnetic field that can create antimatter. Now, I don't know if it's traditional antimatter that instantly bonds with an electron or matter to release high amounts of energy, or it's a special form of hydronium ions that seek high voltage spark. This is the scientist Mail proposes that this is one of the methods of this being achieved, that it goes along the transfer tube from the cell. Where's the cell now, by the way? People are still feeling it out? Good. It goes along the transfer tube into the high ignition voltage, and there it couples with electrons to release a tremendous amount of energy. So the bismuth enhances the diamagnetism of the center, which could be water, which is what we're showing you here with the water charging kit, or it can be your bismuth core.
Moshe,
Yeah.
is both the sphere and the bismuth receiving the same electrical current to it?
Yeah, the bismuth will be receiving that as well. It's coated in silicon gel that is hardened so that it doesn't corrode in the water, but magnetically it's still active, and that's its principle. It's the magnetic principle of the bismuth, because bismuth is not a very good conductor of electricity at all.
But if it's not, what if it's just on the nylon, it doesn't have any electrical connection to it?
If it doesn't have electrical connection, that it's not going to be bringing the juice from the center of the sphere up and out and into the car. And also for healing, it'll just be sort of staying there in the center. So by having an electrical connection to the bismuth core, we enable the transfer of energy from the very center out of the sphere, which was one of the critiques of the Mojo cell, is how do you get the juice out of the core? And you get the juice out of the core by having it go all the way in with this, with your cathode. How's it going there?
Probably when I dropped it, then.
Probably. Oh, you think it was bent?
Yeah, I think I bent it.
Oh, shit.
That's how I was thinking.
We may have bent the sphere in dropping it. Don't drop your spheres, folks. Okay, so
Is the bismuth used for recharging or put on the car?
both. A gentleman in Australia that's done these experimentations has discovered that his cells with bismuth are holding the charge a lot longer than the ones without the bismuth. They hold the charge, meaning you have your cell, you apply your electricity, you come back a day later and you see the cell is holding 0.8 volts across of it. So when you measure from the inner sphere to the outer sphere, it's holding 0.8 volts, 1 volt, 1.2 volts. I've even seen up to 1.8 volts after 24 hours, which was really, really cool. And so he showed that with the bismuth in the core, it holds the charge longer. And it seems to enhance the production of the cell. All right, so I'm just following this, just going to be assembling the cell from the inside out, both sides at the same time. La da da da. Shoot the questions if you got them. This is a good time because we're kind of doing both things at the same time. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. It's a heavy metal. Yes. Oh, it's basically pure bismuth that I use. I have a video now on YouTube where I show how I fire up a blowtorch and I melt it and I pour it into a mold. So that's it, basically. It's not your crystalline bismuth. No, I haven't. It is. Graphite is very diamagnetic as well, yes. Yes, it is.
What's the current draw on your cell?
What's the?
Current draw.
Okay, so that's a good question. The gentleman asked, what is the current draw on the cell? And the answer to that is it depends on what method of charging you're using. When I use the variac. Okay, so there's a few answers there. When you're charging and prepping the water with a water charging kit and you're using the variac, I want to get 1 amp. 1 amp on the nose. When you get 1 amp, it seems to be a nice amount that doesn't overcharge the water. I charge 2-3 minutes at a time, up to 6-7 times a day. And after a few days, you may need to filter your water. Once you filter the water and you put your water back in your water charging kit, the water bursts alive because you took out the impurities, plus it had already been charged, it jumps alive and it's getting towards what's known as stage 3. So stage 3 is water that keeps its charge for a long time. You're reprogramming the water. You will notice an increase in surface tension of the water, which indicates that it's becoming saturated with orgone. And you can even touch the water and move the entire surface of the water as if it had a film, like on chicken soup or something. It's pretty interesting.
In the car, do you keep a charge on it at all times? A trickle charge?
Okay, so that was the second answer. When you're in the car, what we're doing now is you just apply the negative to the negative of the car battery. So you put a wire to the negative, which I'll demonstrate outside. You don't put the positive on the car. You do not charge it anymore. Once the water is charged and what you want to do is you want to charge your charging kit. Where's the Mojo cell that's circulating? Okay, just hold that up a sec. You want to charge, once you assemble your cell, you fill it with water and you want to charge it with a 12-volt source called the Pepe circuit, which I'll describe to you briefly, shortly, not briefly, whatever. You want to charge the cell because once you assemble the cell, you start to acclimatize the cell to its role of holding the negative on the inside and the positive on the outside. You do that a while, you may need to pour the water out and filter it and put it back into the cell. This is in your house, right? You haven't put it in the car yet. Once you've done that, you're going to feel the energy field of the cell, or because you have your water charging kit, you pour the water inside, you put it into your car, you have the negative to the negative of the battery, you do not have the positive hooked up, and you put a 1.5 volt battery across your cell. Now, I would suggest you use a D cell. You know the bigger ones? The D cell, 1.5 volt D cell. you put the positive to the outer sphere and the negative to the inner sphere. And that holds the potential across the cell. You put the cell on a vacuum, and that also helps to hold the charge of the cell. Okay?
It was the 5-inch.
It was a 5-inch?
Yeah. I
Okay.
tried it with another 5-inch. This one just went,
Okay, and it went straight up?
the lip got bent.
We'll have a discount on the bent steel. Okay, so so it went. Okay, so this is all almost assembled totally.
Did you want me to put another 5-inch?
Yeah, put the 5-inch right on top, and we'll tighten the whole sucker together. So this is another method which I'm showing you. Which did you notice? I did the 2-inch. I put it together. Then I put the spacers, and I put the 3-inch. Snapped it together. Now I've put the spacers again on both sides, and I'm going to put the 4-inch and snap it together. The advantage of doing it the first way that we did it is that you can use a table and slam it down, and you're assured of it being really flat. With this, sometimes you just need to play with it a little bit to get it into the hole. It's not too hard. It's pretty simple. Pardon me? Absolutely not. No electrolyte. Now, spring water, if you live in the mountains of Montana or Wyoming, are there mountains in Montana? Good. My American geography is good. If you get spring water, you have a natural electrolytic content. You don't need to add anything, but it's in solution. And if it's really electrolytic, it may be too much electrolyte. Some sources of water may be too electrolytic, and it will produce a lot of scum. But the spring water that I've been using in the mountains of Quebec, beautiful stuff, very alive. Like when you drink it, you feel charged with energy. It's got a lot of life energy. That's what I use. What we do is we take as live water as possible. If you are unfortunately living in a place where you don't have live water, you just have tap water, I wouldn't use the tap water. I'd go to a store and buy spring water. You get yourself a water vortexer, watervortexer.com. Costs $35, I think. You get yourself 2 bottles. Now you could get the big fat Coke bottles, the 2-liter or the 2.5-liter bottles. Basically, you fill them up. This, because it's only 1 liter, then I could almost have it totally full. But when you use the big bottles, you want to only fill about 2/3 of the way. You want to start a negative spin counterclockwise, because that's the natural flow of the Earth in this hemisphere, and you'll see it's vortexing. As it vortexes, the water gets charged, and the magnets that are alternating polarities will wipe clear any electromagnetic residues in the water from bad vibes. Bad vibes, like people in bad moods, especially if you're in the city.
It takes the residual memory out of it?
It takes the residual memory out of it, so it's clean, it's fresh, it's charged. And Victor Schauberger spoke a lot about water vortexing and how it adds energy to your water. And as I'm doing this, I can feel the water is becoming more and more alive. And we took this, this was bottled water, right? Yeah. So we started with decent water. It's not the best. It's not alive like a live spring. But if you can get live spring water, that's your primo water.
People have asked about rainwater.
Use your mic. Take your mic. Talk right into it, too.
People have asked about rainwater and rainwater catchment systems. Rainwater is pretty much almost like distilled water. So if you are going to use rainwater, go ahead and mix it with a spring water source. I wouldn't say not to use it at all, but at least mix it with some water that has some mineral in it. Yes, sir?
That's okay.
Reverse osmosis is good.
It's okay. It doesn't have a lot of electrolytes in it, so it may be, if you're trying to get 1 amp, you may need a lot of voltage, which is not ideal. I don't like to use high voltage unless the current is really, really low, because it's dangerous. I don't like to work with anything that's dangerous. When I was working from the mains, I got scared. I was really like, so I've developed a system where when you have your water charging kit, you set it all up, you make sure all your leads are totally isolated. Don't be dumb and touch the cell while it's charging. If you're grounded through the earth and you touch the outer positive, you could get a serious shock, so be careful if you're using higher voltages. If you're using 12 volts, you can, you lick the cell and you'll be fine. You'll get a bit of a zzz, but you won't, there's no danger there. And there's no danger once the cell is in the car because you're not working with, even if you do hook up the car's 12 volt to the cell, you're not going to get more than 80 milliamps, which is not going to give you a big jolt at all. So, yes, sir?
When you filter the water, can some impurities stay inside of the cell and can be useful to take out the cell and mount it again?
Okay, there's mixing. Did everybody understand that question? Okay, let me see if I can repeat it properly. Yes, yes. When you filter the cell, basically you take your water, you pour it out through a filter. I use 2 blue shop towels that you could get at Home Depot or at a garage. And you take 2 blue shop towels, you wet them first so that you don't lose your charged water. You put them in a funnel, you pour your water through the funnel, you get the pure filtered water down here, and then you're left with your cell, right? So you want to know, is there scum in here that you need to get rid of? Two ways of thinking. One is don't touch that, leave it. You have magic on the cell, even if it's a little dirty. The stuff that's on the cell enhances the activity of the cell. That's one line of thinking. The man named Pepe, which I respect highly, he's really cutting edge thinking in this technology from the land that gave us Nikola Tesla, Victor Schauberger, and Wilhelm Reich. They have really good water in the Alps in this part of the world. And it's really generated some really bright minds in this field. So he suggests not to clean the cell. If you want to clean the cell, all I do is I fill it with water, with fresh water, and pour it out. And then fill it up again, and then pour it out. That's all you should need to do is 2 rinses like that. That's all I've been doing, and that's plenty. Yes, sir? No, because if you weld it, first of all, and you want, let's say, God forbid, you do what I do all the time, and I start charging, and then the phone rings, and then someone comes to the door, and I forget I'm charging. And 5 hours later, when I really only wanted to charge for 2-3 hours, I go back, and the water is boiling hot, and it's created terrible scum, and it's if you forget the charging, you need to take it apart and clean it. So if you weld it, you can't do that. Secondly, when you weld it, you change the magnetism properties of the steel, and you distort it. You will add a magnetism that will basically mess up your steel. Your steel won't be good anymore. Okay, so where are we now? Great. Oh, super. Oh, that's good. That's so smart. Okay, so where are we now? This is the 5-inch?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need one more fat thing. Put this over the top. What?
And then put the 5-inch or the 1-inch.
Oh yeah, okay. So we've assembled, here's a full water charging kit. One sec, Kaser, I'll get you in 1 sec. Here's our full water charging kit. It's really solid because we did put, this has a bismuth core, and you can tighten both these ends. It becomes very, very solid. This you install into your glass jar, fill with water over the top, and apply your electricity. And then you have, the magic starts. It's beautiful. On Saturday, ideally, we kind of put this lecture in after we had already put me on Saturday for the philosophy. I wish I could share with you all of the philosophy, so I really encourage you to keep in your frontal lobes everything that you're learning now, so that when we go on Saturday, you can bring it all together. Okay? I really hope that you'll do that with me. And yes, sir. Yeah.
The 2 halves, they're metal to metal.
Yes.
I noticed that one was glued, and I wondered, does that have to be conductive glue or?
No. The glue's not conductive because they're already definitely connected. Yeah, there's no problem there. Like if I take, I'll take my little volt multimeter here. I'll put it on the little singing setting. You know what I'm talking about? The singing setting, to see if I have continuity. And I will go like this. Can you hear that? Okay, it's hard to hear in the back, I'm sure, but it is singing. And if I take the negative, I put the negative, if I was able to go all the way into the sphere, the center sphere, you would hear it singing. I'm just going to hold that, and you have nothing, because it is very well insulated. It's insulated with about 3/16 of an inch of nylon, which is enough insulation to afford us the ability to charge with very high voltage. That won't spark the gap. It's not going to jump between, and I've tried it with as high so far as 15,000 volts, and there was no jumping, which is great. Which brings me to the next topic. Any other questions right now, by the way? The way to charge the cell. Albie fell. Okay, so the way to charge the cell, I explained there's different methods, okay? There's the high voltage, getting around 1 amp, charging 6, 7, 8 times a day, spacing it out evenly. It doesn't have to be exact. The science can be developed so that it is exact, but I haven't done it exactly, and I've gotten great results. After 3, 4 days, you're going to start to get highly, highly charged water, which you can use for healing. You can use it in your car. The way you use it for healing is you take just a few drops of it. What I do is I have a syringe. I take 2 to 3 milliliters of the water. I put it into my water vortexing jar, squirt it right in there, close it up, and then vortex it a bunch of times. Water is an amazing thing, that if you have highly charged water and then you have just a so-so water, and you take some drops of the highly charged water and you put it in the so-so water, and you mix it up vigorously, or you vortex it, or you shake it, only the few little drops can energize the entire source of the so-so water. So, yeah.
On that note, I have a pretty large vortexer. It's about 3-liter vortexer that I use at home, and I never empty all the water out of the vortex. So right now I probably have, 10,000, I guess you would say, rotations or turns on the water that's in there, just because of the principle that he's talking about of the water relaying it basically to its neighbors, its energy imprint. So, and it makes the cells that I've made that I've been charging that way, they hold their voltage and they charge at a very high voltage.
Discovering the water vortexing has really helped this technology move forward in prepping the water. Also, just vortexing water, forget about the Mojo cell, just for your health. Drinking vortex water is good for you. It's better than drinking non-vortex water. I had a question there, and then I got a question there. Yes, sir.
Is the vortexing somewhat analogous to succussion of homeopathy?
Yes. In terms of energizing the water, yes. And also, if you have a homeopathic remedy, like you drop a little ball of homeopathy in your water, if you vortex it or if you succuss it, it will have the same effect. Like spinning the water with a spoon will also do the same thing. Okay, so what we're evolving towards now is a method of charging which is pulsed DC. Pulsed DC at resonant frequencies with the Earth's vibrational frequency, which is known as the Schumann Resonance. Schumann, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that term, which is now around 12 something. It's around 12. Years and years ago, when it was first discovered, it was around 7.8. The frequency is increasing, which is a sign that the resonant frequency where we exist as human beings has almost doubled. So where we were 20, 30 years ago is nowhere close to where we are now. We're really evolving as a species because the very foundation that we stand on, the resonant frequency of where we stand on, is increasing. So the evolution, we're moving towards a higher vibration. And technologies like the Mojo cell and other forms of technology are going to help that evolution, help that move forward like that. I just answered your question, right? Great. How about you? Yes. Yes, there is. There's several. Did everybody hear that question? Is there a way to actually measure your water, an instrumentation, a way of measuring to see how charged your water is? That's not just a subjective, putting your hands around the cell and going, ooh, it's so charged. Yes, there are. Wilhelm Reich developed something called an orgone meter that can measure the level of orgone. I don't know if all of the ones that they offer on the market on the internet are made that well. You'll have to do better research than I know presently. Perhaps I can ask around and through my website answer that question better. The second thing is, which is something that has just come to my attention, it's quite fascinating, but a radon gas detector, believe it or not, picks up the levels of the cell that the more you charge, the more it seems to be detecting radon gas. I assure you we're not creating radon gas. But the signature of the orgone, its energetic vibration, triggers the radon detector as if it is detecting something of a like nature. That's a way of detecting how charged your water is, which is very cool. Another thing you could do is dowse with a pendulum. Now that's not exactly like, it has a subjective nature, but it's more than just that. Other ways of doing it. Any other suggestions? Anybody know? Yes, sir.
I use a lab stirrer to charge water every day at home, and it works just fine. And what I measure the charge, it gets up around 10,000 volts. I use an electrostatic meter, and it works just fine.
Electrostatic meter, okay, great. There was a gentleman named Bernie. I don't know if any of you are on the Joe Cell list, but there's a guy named Bernie who's Bernie. He's really helped this technology advance by simplifying it and hammering out the details. And he suggested having two regular diodes and a low-level capacitor as an antenna to pick up an electrostatic field. I've tried it and it does work, but it's not accurate. But I have more information. If you're interested in this method, please send me an email through Mojo Working, which I'll write up for you here. So, surface tension is an indication. Another thing that you could do to check your water is take your charged water and put it in a glass cup, which is see-through, translucent, and freeze it. When you freeze it, if you see striations like this, that's a sign that the water is highly, highly charged with orgone. Okay?
If you take that charged water in a container and put it next to other water in the same container, a different container, it'll pick it up
in the other container. Yes, it will. It will. It does have that ability. How are we doing time-wise? Okay, so we're going to go just a little bit more. In fact, we're going to assemble the car cell. That will show you how to assemble a car cell now, and then we're going to take a break for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to install a cell in the car. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of the things I is changing your molecule structure and charges for water. Have you ever had like plant life in containers where you take water and charge it in one direction, give it to certain plants, and then charge it in another direction, and give it to other plants? Have you found a difference?
You mean, okay, the question is, have I charged the water and given it to a plant and then charge it in the reverse fashion and give it to the plants and then measure to see the difference in the plant effect? I haven't done that experiment. It's a really valuable experiment to see what adds to life and what detracts from life, like Wilhelm Reich did those experiments. Also, Dr. Bernard Grad, who was actually an endocrinologist, who was from McGill University, like 70, 80 years. This man, he was an old man when I met him, but he had met Wilhelm Reich. He had seen Wilhelm Reich start an orgone motor with his hands, because Reich had a real powerful healing ability with his hands. And he was doing these experiments with orgone fields with plants, exactly the same size plants, same species plants, to see the effect of the growth that it had. And the plants that were exposed to like hands-on healing every day grew faster. He showed that. So it's a good idea to do that kind of a thing, for sure.
When you say about the healing and the energy enhancement, I think everybody here has energy they haven't learned how to control yet.
Yes.
Kinetic energy of that. But if you are touching an object or a person at a certain level, a certain closeness and speed, you'll start to get a hum and a current noise, and like the ears and things, and it'll hum and buzz. And if you take that person, if you
I'm not sure if it's on. Topher, are we gonna assemble that cell?
Any of this before you put it in this one.
Oh.
If you take the kinetic energy that's in the human body and you touch another human, say like at a massage or a therapy or energy healing, and if you only make one contact, and by the ear with a clean, washed off body, you can touch your ear, and with a fingertip you can put it down very slightly, and an energy will come out. You'll start to hear it hum, increase frequencies, and change. And if you work on that person for a little while, you'll start to change their mood by just the frequency traveling through their ears or their forehead.
Sure.
And you can put them in a relaxation state that's better than what you could normally.
Sure.
But that is a kinetic energy that comes out of the human body. And I had a brother-in-law who was doing a lot of research.
Sir, can I stop you there? What you're getting into now is, I love the topic, I really do.
Okay.
But it's getting a little bit off topic, like when we're talking about the bioenergy, it could be saved for another time. So
It's fine.
Okay, thanks.
That's
Maybe
fine.
we'll discuss that after, like just face to face.
Yeah,
you know,
meet me one-to-one, we'll go over it.
Okay.
But definitely the energies you got here with the water now, we have it in our body. We're 75% water at least.
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate that. In fact, what you're saying is it's a valid point, that the energy that we contain inside, it's enhanced by being around the mojo cell, and our energy field enhances the mojo cell. And there's the whole aspect of the Y factor. Has anybody heard of the Y factor? It's a term that was coined by Wilhelm Reich. And Wilhelm Reich coined that term. He showed that the observational intention of the experimenter influences the experiment. And this is known in quantum physics, that there was an experiment where the physicists were believing that they were going to be seeing matter, and they saw matter, and then they were going to believe that they were going to see energy, and they saw energy. Yes, John? Oh, you got a question over there? So really the intention of the observer experimentally has been shown scientifically to be important, but more so than that, Joe has described having fully functional cells, highly, highly charged, that are functioning, and then a person with very, very negative, doubting, skeptical, disbelieving energy will come around and it will shut down the cell until they leave. And people who have faith in this and believe in it will enhance the cell. And more people that have faith will enhance the cell more. Like when I work with Topher, the energy is a lot more than when I work with it alone. It's amazing to see this phenomenon. So, yes, sir?
Could you tell us more about how you structure your jar that you treat your water in? You said drill a hole in the bottom. Why? Why do you do that?
Okay. The reason why you drill a hole in the bottom is because, let me take this, I'll show you the bottom here. Do we still have this? Yes. So, you see that right there coming out of the bottom? Can you see that? What I would do is I would take this nut off, the bottom nut off, so that all I have is this flat spacer. You drill a hole through the bottom, so when you put it down into the bottom of the jar, all you have is a nylon spacer against glass. So the negative bolt will not see the water at all, except in the very center of the sphere. Mwah. It's beautiful, beautiful. So what I would do is I would put the nut on the outside of the glass, tighten it, not too much or you'll crack the glass, and put some goop. Household goop. This stuff changed my life when I discovered it. I swear. It's fantastic stuff. It's like $6, $7 at Home Depot. So you can get it there. Yeah, Topher.
It's a 3/16 hole or 3/8?
3/16.
It's a 3/16 inch hole that you would drill. And make sure that you're using a masonry bit when you drill through.
Or a diamond drill bit. I bought off eBay, I bought diamond drill bits, cost me $10, and it was like butter. Versus when we did it with your mason like tile drill bits, you have to work at it. You have to go very slow, and you're going to break the glass if you're not patient. With the diamond stuff, you just put a little water, and it's like cutting through butter. It's incredible. It's incredible. Okay, so Topher is now assembling the car kit. Just to show you how we assemble the car kit, basically it's exactly the same. Come over here, Topher. Bring this. I'll bring the stuff over to you. I'll bring the stuff over. He's doing it the same way that I just did it, assembling the 2-inch, tightening the outsides, and then putting the 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, and then we're going to tighten it like that. And then we're going to take a short break, 15 minutes, and we'll come back and go outside and see how you install this into the car. So just hold that up to the camera so that the people can see that. There you go. So you have on one side, you have let me get that cool space thingy. Where's that?
Right there.
Oh, it's here, okay. So you have the nylon nut here, and you have the steel here. You tighten these two together at the same time, and it holds the 2-inch really solidly together on the inside. Then we're just going to really simply do the other assembly steps. And there's just a very small difference with the assembly of the car kit, which I'll illustrate to you now, which has to do with sealing the bottom with goop, so that when you fill your car kit, the car kit acts as the container for the water. It doesn't drip out the bottom and it doesn't drip out the sides. So that's important. So Topher is now just putting the spacers. There's a spacer that goes over the nut, and then there's another one, the one on the bottom, and then the second one will keep the cell apart, and then we put the 1-inch on, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Is performance enhanced very greatly if they're all polished?
In the car?
Yeah. Or either place.
We've noticed an improvement in the feel and the overall powerful effect of the energy field when the cells are polished. Yes.
For both charging the water and in the car?
Yes, definitely.
Inside now polished?
Well, if you want to do the lazy man's polish, you polish the outside of the 2-inch, which is the inner sphere. That's that's the surface that we're actually applying the electricity to, because here, let me just borrow this for a sec, Topher. When you have, we're going to be bringing the negative electricity to here. The bolt is on the outside of the 2-inch, so the electricity, even though the electricity is charging both sides, there is a reflection of the energy on the outside of the 2-inch and the inside of the 5-inch. And so you want to polish the inside of the 5-inch and the outside of the 2-inch if you just want to polish minimally. Otherwise, do everything. Polishing the outside is also cool because people go, ooh, it looks really nice. But it's totally unnecessary because there's nothing happening on the outside of the 5-inch because it's not touching the water, and it's just for good looks. But I like when things look good, because then I go, ooh, you're so beautiful. And then it feels beautiful, and it works better. It's true. It's true. I'm not messing with you. So we're almost done here, and I'd like to take any other questions that you may have, and we're going to take a break pretty soon. Now, we're going to get to the point. Did you have a question, sir? Glass would not work. If you use glass, it would act as the dielectric, as the organic layer, and you'd need to have highly electrolytic water that would act as the metallic layer. It doesn't make sense to use glass. Have you ever heard of the metal Monel? Monel would be the ideal metal because it has diamagnetic copper in it that doesn't corrode. It's non-corrosive, it's totally non-magnetic. It's easier to cold work and it doesn't induce magnetism, but it's extremely expensive. So again, the solution falls back on 316 stainless, which is expensive, but it has a viable solution. We're looking at 10 to 20 times the price of steel. So your Mojo would cost you $2,500 instead of $250. You know, when I bought my Joe cell from Australia, I paid $650 plus $100 shipping from NewTek. And I'm really happy to provide a less expensive solution. I'm really happy to do that, and I want to do that. In the future, I will be offering distributorships for people through Mojo Working that you can buy a number of cells. You can help your friends install in their car, so you'll get a discount that you can make a profit on. And you could also make a profit if you get them polished. You could make a couple of bucks if you assemble them yourself, if you charge the water yourself. Really, there will be some potential for income by helping to spread this technology. So keep in touch with me if you're interested in that through Mojo Working. Yes, sir?
Can you tell us a little bit more about the range of voltages you're using to charge? You mentioned your variac.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going through a full wave rectifier, or are you doing...
Yeah, it's a full wave bridge rectifier, like those little square suckers that have the 4 prongs on them.
So you're not using pulse DC, you're using steady DC.
That's right.
Fairly high voltages.
Around 70 to 110, 120 volts DC, which will get you 1 amp, depending on how much electrolyte you have in your water source. You want to get around 1 amp. That's one method. That's straight DC. Then there's another method of using a 12 volt and charging much longer with Pepe's circuit, which has a series of interestingly weird things that nobody understands electrically, why it works. But let me tell you, it creates an amazing field on that Mojo. And Pepe has had some success with car functioning as well. So I do trust his method. These methods are on mojoworking.com. Can I get just a little piece of paper up here? I could just jot that down for people. Just a piece of blank paper will do the trick. And you'll see the website is rich with information. There's videos, there's, that should be okay over there. Thank you very much, sir. So we got, oh, that's not going to be very good. M-O-E J-O-E dash working, whoops, there's only 2 V's and a W. Working. .com. See that? mojoworking.com. And I'm available through there. You can contact me and for any questions and stuff. Yes, Lloyd?
What is your production capability?
My production capability?
How many can you make?
Oh, lots.
You got a number?
It would just take time and it would take money in order to produce them. That's all. Basically, any number would just take an investor and because the production costs are high.
Are you tooling limited now, or
Am I tooling?
tooling limited on your quantity?
Not really, no. No, not really, no. Yes, sir.
If you made a really large cell with a lot more spheres, what would the result of that be?
The question is, if you made a really large sphere with a lot more spheres, what would be the result of that? I don't know. I think if you were using the cell as a hydrogen producer, The more spheres you had, the more hydrogen you would produce. However, it's not a hydrogen producer, it's an orgone producer, and what we actually discovered is 3 spheres seems to even be more powerful for the healing aspects, the 2-inch, 3-inch, and 4-inch, by just having one neutral plate in between the positive and the negative, because it's perfectly aligned, the male with the inner female. So bigger is not necessarily better, and more is not necessarily better in this technology. However, another reason why it's not necessarily better is because if you have a big cell, like let's say it's 12 inches and you have 11, 10, 9, it's huge. Costs a ton of money. The 5-inch cell, the 5-inch spheres almost make this technology twice the cost as if it was just 4, 3, and 2. So the more you get larger, you're talking about a lot more material and a lot more production cost. So I don't know how to answer that except for I'm not sure, but I wouldn't do it.
Then your water charging, how about if you put, say, 2 or 3 of your water charging ones in one glass container? What would the result of the water be versus the water?
The question is, if you put more than one water charger in the same source of water, I don't know, I've never done it. But I can tell you that when you have more than, let's say you have 2 water charging kits side by side, they enhance each other. By orgone enhances orgone. So if you have an orgone accumulator in your room, and you have a orgonite, and you have a water charger, each one enhances the other. So my folks, I built a pyramid in the sacred geometry of the pyramids of Giza. It's an orgone accumulator. And there's also an orgone accumulator in the basement, and the whole house is enhanced from having more than one source of orgone accumulation. So,
Any limit on the amount of orgone that you put in it? Does it have a top limit?
I don't know. Probably. I think that, Wilhelm Reich believed that electricity in the clouds was caused by orgone saturation in the ionosphere. So the water droplets start to accumulate because of the presence of orgone. Water is formed around the orgone, and the more the orgone gets supercharged, it has to discharge. So it may be that at a certain point, the orgone is hypersaturated in the cell, and it would need to discharge. And maybe it would send out a bolt or something. But I've never gotten to that point, and I don't think that happens because it's always discharging into the atmosphere, into the ground, because it's always connected to the ground negative. So there is a balance there, that's not going to hyper discharge. Yes, sir. Good question. Does the temperature you operate have an effect? Absolutely. The colder, the better. And to the point where if you could operate at 4 degrees Celsius, that's 8, take away 0.8, 7.2, 37.2. 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit is your optimal temperature. It's called the point of anomaly, where the orgone content in your water is at its greatest. And water is at its densest as well. So the colder the better. In the winter in Quebec, where it's so cold you want to move somewhere else, in the basement it's really, really cold, and you really get fantastic results at that time. So, and when the cell really heats up, like if you are doing water charging, never charge to the point where the cell even gets warm. You just want to charge for a minute or two and then stop charging. It's better to charge more frequently and less long than charge long and, okay. 5 minutes? Gotcha that. No, it's not necessary. Okay, so hang on a sec. Topher has just gotten to the point where I need to illustrate a difference. Basically what he has done is he has assembled the bottom of the cell. Okay, here's a couple of things I have to share. The bottom of the cell has been assembled, the extra spacers placed with the washer, and then your nut. When you have the nut here, now what we will do at this time is tighten the 3-inch here with the 4-inch here with the 5-inch here. So what I'm going to do is I'll do that right away. Actually, this has to come off. This has to come off. So, okay, so this is where we're at. We have the 1-inch spacer that was put right down on the bottom, touching the 2 inches here. We take our nylon spacer, we put it over here. We put a washer. And we put a nylon nut. I'm going to screw that down. Now this is going to make the cell really, really solid. Now the only thing that will be missing is goop, the magic ingredient of the Mojo cell. I should endorse goop. So then I'm just going to tighten this with this, like that. Now fingers are not quite as strong as tools. So Topher, can you just come here for a sec, please? Just hold that. You can even do that side. And I'll do this side. And then we're just going to tighten that a little bit.
Which way do I go?
Yeah, just hold it, actually. That would be fine. Okay, that's solid. That is really solid. Okay, and you want it to be solid when you're in the car. Okay, that's really solid. Now, what we did here was we took the 1.5-inch bolt and you put it through. Did you goop that at all? No. Okay. You put it through the hole on your 5-inch and tighten down a nylon nut, which will carry the positive electricity to the inner surface of the 5-inch. And then you just take your little cap and you cover that so that the amount of distance that bolt is in the inside of your sphere is not decreasing the radius of the 5-inch. So the cell does not see the bolt at all because it's insulated. You follow that? Because we don't want to, if we did that, you would see, let's say you had that sticking in a little bit, then the whole magnetic field would be going towards that one point, which would distort your whole cell. So you want to insulate the inside of the head there. Now, last thing we're going to do before we take a break, you put your 5-inch with your 3/4-inch hole over the top. That's nice and closed, nice sealed. And then you're going to goop this all around, which we're going to do now. You want to goop it? Sure. Okay. Thank you very much. So it's really easy to goop. You just squeeze and smooth out. And I'm just going to goop it all the way around. I need to goop the bottom as well, correct. This is actually easier to do on a table where you can support, because I'll probably get goop all over my hands this way. Okay, hang on a sec. Okay, so I'm gooping. And then what I suggest when you're working with goop, because it's pretty toxic, is you work outside unless you want to get, start hallucinating on goop. I lick my finger. Always choose different fingers to lick. And just smooth it out so that the seal is beautiful. You see that? Second finger. Don't ask me how often I forget which finger I've licked. This finger. And if you have a little jar of water, you won't have to lick your finger anymore. Pardon me? Yeah, you could spit on it. Oh, pinky's left. It's true. Goop it's a special thing, goop. Now, that we would let dry. This will dry in 10, 15 minutes. It'll start to harden. In an hour, it'll be really hard, and it'll be ready to fill with water. But now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to goop the bottom. Because this has been tightened now, I can just goop all around, and it will be totally sealed when we fill it with water. Oops, I just got goop on my palm. It's use of goop, and it's also the 1-inch hole here. The water charger has 2 holes here to enable water circulation. which is important when you're charging in a vat where water's on the outside. If you don't have that, there's no circulation, it doesn't work as well. Well, I know I already licked that finger. We're just going to spread it around the bottom. I'm used to it. I have a little portion in my brain where I could feel the goop pocket. So folks, I really want to thank you for your patience and your attentiveness.
Also, I want to explain this real quick.
Oh yeah, sure, okay. Okay.
I don't have the mic, but you all can hear me, right? Basically, what we do is that if you go ahead and get the car kit here, we have these little 3/4-inch connectors that we actually attach. You couldn't hear it?
Here, I can explain, Topher.
Okay.
Grab this. Be careful, it's gooped everywhere.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so with the car kit, we basically want to have as easy a solution as possible so that you can have everything, one-stop shop. A lot of people that I've met are very resourceful, so you don't need this, but it's helpful to have. So basically we have a 3/4-inch connector that is connected to the top of the cell, gooped, and then tightened. This is a transfer tube. This part here is part of this, but I brought it out in order to attach it, okay? You'll see how there's a little loose blue thing that goes right over the top here, and then you have your screw-on thing. You put it into the top, you bring your screw-on thing down, and you seal the top of the cell. It'll be tight, 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 tight. Now what I'm going to do, okay, that's super tight. So that's airtight, okay? What I'm going to do now is actually pour the water that we've prepared in through the top here, and that will fill the cell up. And this is the cell that we're going to use to install in the car in about 15, 20 minutes, okay? And there was a gentleman that had a question. Yes, sir?
How thick is the metal of those spheres?
This is 20 gauge. 20 gauge. Yeah, but I'm going to be producing 24 gauge. It's very strong, it's still very solid. It's not as heavy, but it's still as solid, and it's easier to machine. Less tooling involved as well. Oh yeah, great. You want to do that? Sure. There was another question. Yes, sir.
If you encase this in some type of a refrigeration unit to get that 39.2 optimum temperature, would that necessarily enhance the entire system?
Yes, I believe it would. I believe it would. Although, if your refrigeration system, the electromagnetic aspect of it that was refrigerating was too close to the cell, it would deter from the cell. So if you could do it in a whole room, kind of like a AC system, and it was far enough away, you would enhance the system. Yeah, you could wrap it in ice, sure. Keep the water. Yep. Something that could be experimented with as well is adding some alcohol and putting it on ice to keep it at close to 4 degrees Celsius. That would be interesting. Wow, I'm feeling this.
What if you're up north and the temperature drops below 0 and your car is parked overnight?
Yeah.
It freezes and busts?
Yeah. It won't break the cell, but it will. The question is, what if you're in the north and you're sub-zero temperatures? The cell will freeze and then it will stop working. So there's solutions that we're working on to apply voltage to keep the water from freezing. Thank you very much, Topher. Ooh, that's good. Nice and heavy now. Oh, beautiful. Yes?
What about operations in desert climates? Does extreme heat change the charge of the cell?
Yes. Yeah, extreme heat, like you're looking at like 120 degrees Fahrenheit, will alter the functioning of the cell. But if you have it on a vacuum, the vacuum draws on the cell and it keeps the cell cool. So there is a chance that won't alter it too much. Yes? If you put in the refrigerator, what? I don't know. Because your fridge is kind of a weird environment. It's sealed. There's no air. It's like it's chilly. There's these foreign vegetables there. Who knows how the cell will get along with the vegetables? There's a lot of things to figure out there. So okay, that's it, folks. Thank you. We're going to take a 15-minute break. Let's come back here, and then I believe we're going out there. Oh, we're going to go out that way where the statues are in the front, and we're going to do a car installation.
We may not have time to reassemble back here, so I think just go straight out to the work.
Okay, addendum. Let's just meet in 15 minutes. Right out there, there's going to be a red car, statues, and that's where we're meeting in 15. Thank you, folks.